This is a chemical reaction balancing lab. You also will be practicing different types of reactions as well as predicting the products in the case of some single displacement and double displacement reactions. You won't have to do it for every reaction that you're balancing. Make sure you check out the pre-lab. So if you are uncomfortable with balancing at all, here are 3 helpful different voices than your instruction, but you would have already had the balancing in class. And then you have 2 options on your report sheet. You can do the PDF version or you can do the Word document version. Notice that the PDF version looks like this. The blanks on the left are for numbers. On the right, in several of these cases, you'll notice that there's not products listed. You will not have to fill in all of these products. eLearn will help you with several of them as well as their phases. Don't forget to balance them though. Something that is going to be different about the report sheet versus eLearn is that we know that you do not put ones as coefficients. So if you were determined that the coefficient for the very first reactant, the NH42, if you were determined that coefficient was 1, you would not write it on the report sheet. But eLearn and its limitations, it does require that you put something in every box. So you have to put a 1 in that situation. So let's go and look at the activity. This is just like the molecular geometry lab and some of the other labs you've already done, the nomenclature lab, where the activity will help you make sure that you're doing everything correctly. You get unlimited tries. It's not tied to the gradebook at all. Now, this probably doesn't look like a correct reaction, and this is a limitation that happens to be going on because this is a quiz and it's showing all the problems on the left. If it weren't showing all of those problems, this would be a nice straight line. So the 2 reactants are the 2 on top. The squares, that square is how many NH4 SO4s. This square is how many NHOHs. This is one of the products. Now, if you remember, that report sheet didn't have any products unless there's a product listed here and there's a product listed here. You may want to practice on the report sheet and make sure that you've got it and then double check it, just see what eLearn has written down. And eLearn also gives you hints on the phases. You've got to make sure that you include those phases, the things in parentheses. The other thing to remember, there are some places where you will have to predict products. And it's in a little bit, like right here, you have to predict products. So we also need to make sure that everything is balanced. So let's look at this one right here. You'll notice there's a 2 in from the HNO3. And so in this place, let's say that you figured out that it wasn't just one of the products that after you wrote in the product, whatever it happened to be, but after you wrote it in, let's say that you figured out that you needed 2 of them. So the way you put that in is you're just going to put a 2, and then you're going to put a space, and then you're going to write whatever the reactant is. So in these ones where you predict the products, you're going to be writing how many they are. So for example, you'd be writing 2 NH4NO3. Of course, that didn't turn out right, but you saw what it's supposed to look like. You can put a space in, and that'll work. But also, if you forget the space, it'll still work. You do not need phases. Notice it says you do not need phases. So that's really helpful also. You want to answer the report sheet 1 question at a time as you're filling it out. And then you want to submit it in eLearn and make sure that you've got it right. And then you're going to do the next problem and the next problem and the next problem. They get, there's little tricks here and there with some of these problems. Like this one right here is like a common thing that you should know. And some of these are common ones that you should know. But when you get to the very end, the only problem that will probably take you the most time will be this very last problem. This is a combustion reaction, and this particular combustion reaction will have larger coefficients. Now let's go back. I'll just submit. If you'll let me go back. There we go. Make sure that when you finish, you submit it into the Dropbox. Remember, it needs to be in Sunday night. And after you get it, I'll go to the Dropbox in just a moment. But after you do that, there's also a short quiz, very similar to several of the reactions that you did. Here's the Dropbox over here to activities, Dropbox, and it's right in here. Balancing reactions. So you can see that blue one, balancing reaction, that's going to be the Dropbox. Keep in mind also that it is the report sheet that is graded, not the activity. The activity is to help to make sure that you understand it and that you have it corrected. If you do not turn in a handwritten report sheet, you will get a 0. Last thing, this report sheet that you turn in, you will want to either save it or you're going to want to download it and print it off for a lab. In 2 labs, we're going to be referencing some of these reactions. Good luck!